63-year-old Kurt Kaiser was a farmer who had a knack for finding clever ways to keep his machinery up and running on his 1,500-acre hog farm in Nebraska. In the winter of 2019, when the ground was frozen solid, Kurt was having a hard time putting his fill bin underneath his grain auger, and so he did what he did best. He improvised. A grain auger is this large rotating metal screw that transports grain from one place to another. And so the way this works is, imagine this big tube where in the middle of it is this big rotating metal screw. And so the grain gets sucked in on one side, it rotates its way all the way through to the other end of the auger, and it's spit out the other. Because the auger is basically a giant rotating blade and the entry point is actually exposed, there's this big safety grate that's on the outside to make sure the only things getting sucked into the auger are really small, things like grain. Kurt realized if he removed the safety screen, he could easily fit the fill bin underneath. And so he did that, and he told himself that he would just replace the safety screen as soon as he was done. But it turned out once that safety screen was gone, the machine actually worked a lot better. And after a couple of days of operating the auger without the screen, he just kind of forgot about it. And Kurt needed to move some grain from one bin to another. And so he fired up the auger that still did not have the safety screen on the outside of it. And as he was walking right near the entrance to the auger, he tripped and he fell feet first into the opening of the auger. And right away, his left foot got sucked up into the rotating metal screw, and before he'd even fallen back onto the ground, he could tell his left foot had been cut clean off. But that wasn't the worst of it, because the rest of his leg was still getting pulled into the shaft. That screw was going to keep on turning, and he could not get to the turn-off switch. And so he immediately starts fumbling for his phone, and he realizes he doesn't have it on him. He left it in the shed. And so he's got no way to call anyone. There's no one anywhere near him. Kurt realized he had his pocket knife. He always carried it with him. He pulled it out. It was a 4-inch blade, and he realized he could cut his leg off, but he had to time it right. If he didn't cut through fast enough, the auger would rotate all the way around and would pull more of his leg, the area he was cutting, into the auger. So he'd have to start all over again. And so he timed it, so he reached down and cut through his leg as fast as he could right before the rotation of the auger caught up again. And as soon as he cut through, he fell backwards, rolled onto his stomach, and began army crawling all the way 200 meters back to his shed. He got his phone and he called his son, and he very calmly told him that he had his leg cut off in the auger. Kurt was soon airlifted to a hospital where doctors were able to perform a real amputation on him. For a little while after his accident, Kurt was a celebrity. He was all over the news. But apparently he just did not care at all about that. All he wanted to do was put a prosthetic on and go back to work. And sure enough, only a few weeks after having his leg ripped off by an auger, he was back out working on an auger with a prosthetic leg.